What's up, Sixers fans? As you guys probably already know about me a little bit, I am a humongous draft night fan. It's my favorite night of the year because you already know the Sixers never make the finals, so whatever about the finals. I don't care who wins. It's potato with me. Draft night is the greatest night of the year, every year, because that's all I have to look forward to is potential about what the Sixers might be, because they never end up being. It's just, let's get into it. I'm going to break this video down into 3 individual little prospect niches that the Sixers should possibly look into and probably will look into drafting. It's going to be the lead guard, it's going to be a high upside wing pick, and it's going to be a stretch 4 or a big man. Those are the 3 categories that I have a couple prospects on each one. A few prospects for each thing. I'm going to talk about it. I put a lot of effort into this video, so please make sure you like, subscribe, do the whole kit and caboodle. Let's get to 1K so I can show you my little surprise I've been having for 1K, and I need to hit it. I refuse to do my surprise for you guys until I hit 1K. I will wait until I die if I have to. Now let's get into the video. I want to start off with the lead guard, and I really want to start off with my favorite prospect in this draft, a guy who I said in his second game this season that he should be on the Sixers. I remember exactly where I was sitting when I said Jared Butler is the perfect Philadelphia 76er. Right now, they uncovered he has a heart condition, so maybe he won't end up getting drafted at all, but I'm going to prepare for this video in best case scenario that he's going to be okay, that it won't affect his draft stock, and I think the Sixers are in a great position to go out and get Jared Butler. I think he may get off the board a little bit earlier than the Sixers pick, which would particularly hurt me, but Jared Butler is a really good player. I mean, this guy is a 50-40-80 guy, and the things I loved most about him is, honestly, the ability that he kind of created his own shot, the fact that his range is just utterly ridiculous. I mean, this dude popped from anywhere on the court. He has a fantastic, beautiful stroke that will guarantee translate into the next level in the NBA, and he's a leader. He's a very good leader. Weaknesses is the fact that, he's a little bit short. I mean, he's not going to be the quickest guy in the world, and I don't really see him as having a super high ceiling given the fact that, he's already a little bit older than the rest of the guys. But I see Jared Butler as being a very good NBA player. I have his projection as a very high-end second unit player, a absolute dog in the second unit, somebody similar to Monty Morris. I have my comp similar to Monty Morris. I think Jared Butler could be one of the better backup point guards in the NBA for a good 10 years, and I think he's just going to be a very reliable backup lead guard, which the Sixers have desperately needed over the last couple of years. My second possible lead guard guy is Trey Mann from Florida. I love Trey Mann. I also love the fact that the kid just refuses to stop getting taller every year. Apparently, he's grown 2 inches over the last year, which is fantastic. I mean, that's only going to make his draft stock go up higher, and I think that's been the case from what I've read. The Ringer compares him to D'Angelo Russell and Darius Garland, which is interesting to me. Trey Mann is expected to go in the 20s of the first round. I think he probably will be available, and I have seen him go from 24 to 28 in most mock drafts. Trey Mann has a knockdown shot. He shot over 40% from 3 last year. He shot 47% from the field, and he has a good free throw shot too. It's going to translate well in the NBA. And he, at times, shows flashes of a fantastic handle. And if he can continue to be consistent with a handle, it's going to make his ability to shot create way easier, and it's just honestly going to make him a better player. I think his projection for me is a very high-end second-unit player with the possibility of, especially if it continues to grow, with the possibility to be a pretty solid starting guard. He's not the most athletic guy in the world, but he isn't unathletic, if that makes sense. I think he has the ability to become a solid starter in the NBA, especially if he continues to grow and can grow into the frame that he has. I like Trey Mann. I think he is a high upside player. I think he's a pretty good lead guard, and I think he has a chance to be available at the Sixers at 28. My final and my third guy that is a lead guard who I would really appreciate the Sixers at least looking at or going out and get is Chris Duarte. Lately, I've seen Chris Duarte going high teens, low 20s, so I'm not completely sold on the fact that he'll be available at Philadelphia when it comes to our pick. But Duarte is a sniper. This kid can shoot, and he's a leader. He's 24 years old, which is something that's going to make him slip and fall and keep on slipping and falling until it's Philly, because I would love to bring Duarte and a guy like Duarte to Philadelphia. He is a kid who absolutely excels with shooting off of the catch and shooting off of the handoff. He's not a great shot creator, which is a thing I don't think most teams love, but I think for Philadelphia, especially if we keep Ben Simmons, that does not matter. We can keep a guy of Chris Duarte and put him alongside Tyrese Maxey, who is the primary ball handler, and I think those two would be fantastic together. Duarte is a very, very big hustler too, and he's a pretty solid defender. He's not really quick enough to stay in front of the quicker guards in the league, and he's not big enough to stay in front of the more physical ones, but I think he's a pretty good defender that can, be a solid off-ball defender and just help defender in general. I have my comp to him as Danny Green. I think they're very similar players. I think Duarte has the chance to be better than Danny Green, but I think Duarte is very similar in the way he plays the game as Danny Green. I think my projection for Chris Duarte is a hustler who can be a high-end role player and be somebody who can consistently shoot the ball for you. I think he has the chance to slide into a starting lineup, but he's never going to be a go-to guy or a guy that other teams game plan against, but I think he knows that. And I think it's very well aware of his strengths, which are very, very important to NBA teams nowadays. Let's talk high upside, I should say, shot creators. Let me start off with Brandon Boston, also known as BJ Boston, also known as somebody who I made a video of in the first couple of weeks of the NCAA season when it started, saying this kid is atrocious. The beginning of the season, he started as a top 5 projected pick. Now, he is probably closer to the second round, early second round, maybe mid. Probably not, but early second round. That's because he was atrocious. But the thing is, the kid has a really high upside. Personally, I don't think the Sixers are going to go in this particular mold, but Tyrese Maxey is a guy who had a high upside type of outlook on him when the Sixers drafted him. He wasn't a guy who teams thought could come in immediately and produce. So I could be wrong when I say Philadelphia probably won't go in this direction, because Brandon Boston, a guy from Kentucky, is disappointing, but he has the intangibles and he literally has all of the physical gifts to be a very good player. He fits the Brandon Ingram mold very well, and that is my comp for him, is a poor man's Brandon Ingram. He shot 30% from 3, I think, in his freshman year, and 36% from the field in general, which is awful. And I understand he didn't really have much around him offensively. I mean, he had some solid players, but offensively, not much. Brandon Boston is a kid who, if he figures it out, can be an absolute steal no matter where he's taken, because of his athleticism, because of his ability to dribble and create space, and he has a very nice shooting form, and just the way his body is, and if he can fill into it, he has a 6'11" wingspan, and he's a forward who can play like a guard, but who also can actually defend. I think my best takeaway from his freshman season in Kentucky is he's a better defender than I think people give him credit for, and I think he's a solid defender. I think the worst case scenario of his projection coming into the NBA is he could be a pretty good defender. I mean, it's hard to be a bad defender when you have a 6'11" wingspan and you're as athletic as BJ Boston is, but I think he's going to be a good defender at least. His projection is very hard for me to understand or to calculate because of the massive gap between his worst and best outcome. I mean, he has a low ceiling. I mean, he has a really high ceiling, but he also has a very low floor. And it's going to scare teams away, but I think given the right circumstance, I think a team will absolutely want to take a shot on it and trying to develop him, because I think Brandon Boston, if given a good opportunity and just if he figures it out, he's going to be a good NBA player. But it's just really tough to see that when you basically are working from scratch with the kid. My last guy of the high upside shot creator prospect is Zaire Williams from Stanford. I really like Zaire Williams. I think it was a fluke season. That may sound ridiculous when you look at the fact that he shot under 30% from three, but I think he's going to be a fantastic three-point shooter in the NBA. I think his comparison is the most spot-on one and literally the easiest one I had to make, Cam Reddish. The fact that Cam Reddish is a terrible shooter in college, but, at times puts it together in the pros, but is just inconsistent in his end. And Zaire Williams has a beautiful shooting stroke. It looks so pretty, and when it goes in, it's like, that's going to go in every time. But it just didn't go in. Maybe it was just a down year. He started the season pretty hot from three, actually. I really, really like Zaire Williams' potential. He has the potential to be a two-way, legit player. I think he's going to go in the first round. I would be very shocked if he didn't. I would be surprised if he would be available at 28, I think it is, for the Sixers. But if he is, I think it's a surefire grab. He's going to be a good two-way player. I think he's a good defender now, so you don't have to worry about that when it comes into the league. And I think at worst, he's going to be a pretty high defensive specialist off your bench. But at the same time, I think his ceiling is a two-way all-star. I see all-star potential in Zaire Williams. I am much higher on him than I think many scouts and experts are. But I really do believe in Zaire Williams' ability to figure it out. He has great size. He is lanky. He gets in passing lanes extremely well. He has great IQ. I really think that he's going to be a great NBA player. I just think it's going to take some time, but I believe in Zaire Williams. Time for the stretch four / big man role. First one, Jeremiah Robinson-Earl from Villanova. You guys probably love this fact because, oh my God, he's a Philly kid. Not really, but Jeremiah Robinson-Earl, Villanova, bring him to Philadelphia. Love Nova. Nova kids never suck. Yeah, I like Jeremiah Robinson-Earl. I believe in this kid. I think he's going to be good for 10 years. I don't think he'll ever be great, but the Sixers don't need him to be great, right? I think Robinson-Earl is a glue guy waiting to be squeezed out. I don't know. I don't know where I was trying to go from there. He's going to be a very good player on a good team, I think. I think he's going to be reliable. I think he will never be a starter, but we don't need him to be a starter. I think he is a good, versatile defender who can pop it, who can shoot the ball a little bit from outside, and I think if he can consistently shoot that three, he's going to be a very, very legit, high-end bench player on a playoff team. I see his projection as a genuinely high-level glue guy on a playoff team. Like that's really where I see him to be, and I think he's going to be consistent. I think he's going to be good from the moment he gets into the NBA to the moment he retires. I see him as being a reliable guy for 10 years, and I think teams see that too. The only thing is he's not really super athletic, but he's a very highly intelligent player. His basketball IQ is very impressive, and he always tends to make the right decisions. He never does too much, and I think he understands his role on teams very well, which is going to help his fit wherever he goes. I think Philadelphia is a very good place for Jeremiah Robinson-Earl, and he's a high-effort guy too, which every team needs. All right, I want to talk about my favorite big man prospect for the Sixers right now, Deyron Sharp from UNC. Why, Greg? One, I love the kid's name, Deyron Sharp. Dude, this man was meant to be a stud, nothing less. But the kid is 6'11", 265, and a great passer. I mean, this kid can pass. But what Sharp does better than anybody in this draft is hustle. This kid absolutely works his butt off on the offensive and defensive boards. I mean, this kid is going to be a high-level rebounder on both ends of the court, and every single team in the NBA needs that. This kid kind of reminds me of Isaiah Stewart on a lot of levels. The big knock on Sharp is the fact that the man can't shoot threes. But you know what? There are rumors out there lately that Sharp has been declining to go to combines and declining to do some things because he's promised something that he probably likes. A lot of teams and scouts have come out and said that his shot looks much, much improved and way better. And the fact that he's apparently lost weight and just looks really, really good. I love Deyron Sharp. He is a kid to me that you will draft and you know what you're going to get from him. You know that he's going to come in and work harder than anyone else on the court to be good, to fit in his role and not try and do too much. I love that. I love that. My Comp, I said, was Isaiah Stewart, and I think my projection for him would probably be a championship-level glue guy. That may sound pretty crazy, but I think you can put him in on any team as a backup center, and he would bust his ass and just play, whether it's 7 or 23 minutes of just hard-nosed basketball. The Sixers are desperate for that. Dwight Howard was that, and look how well that worked in the regular season. And it stopped working in the playoffs because Dwight Howard is almost 40 years old and he just couldn't run up and down the court. Imagine a Dwight Howard of where he's at now, but 20 years old. Deyron Sharp is a kid who is going to run up and down the court and just completely dominate the glass. The Sixers need that so desperately. He could be phenomenal in Philadelphia, and just a guy that everyone learns to love because he knows his role and he does it so well. Deyron Sharp's the man. So my last possible prospect to talk about is a stretch 4-5 that doesn't really shoot the 3 ball yet. This kid is, I have no idea what the Sixers would get with him, but I like JT Thor from Auburn. He is a high-flying athlete, and the kid shows so much energy, but he's not very strong. So when it comes to the low post and comes to just the interior, he's not going to be a presence, but his shot's really nice. I think it's a pretty shot, and I think he's going to be a prototypical stretch forward in his NBA career. He's 6'10", 6'11". He's lean, but he's a high flyer. I think he's going to be a guy that's exciting to watch. I think he's going to be a guy who could play well in transition with the likes of a Ben Simmons if we have him. I like how I say that every time, like if we have him. I think he's a guy who has potential to be a really good player, but his projection to me is just very difficult to understand because I think he has an ability to be one of the guys who goes in the early second round maybe and just doesn't even see the court in his NBA career and plays in the G League and hopefully can work from there to get an opportunity and just really never play in the league. But I also think he has the ability to improve his consistency on his jump shot and become a better shooter and genuinely carve out a pretty solid bench role on a pretty solid team. I think JT Thor has a sweet name, so I'm all on board for JT Thor. That was cool. And I think he's a prototypical stretch 4 in every single way possible. He just needs to improve his jump shot, which sounds crazy, but it's a nice shot. Like it looks like it should be going in every time. And I think he's going to improve there. I think given the right people around him, I think he can be a very good bench guy. And I think the Sixers should at least acknowledge it and see what there is about JT Thor, because I'm probably pretty sure he'll be available there for Philadelphia in the first round. So that's my Sixers draft analysis. We will see how the draft turns out. Hopefully it goes well. I honestly am pretty confident that the Sixers are going to draft well. They've been pretty decent the past couple of years, which is crazy to say given our history as draft guys. Oh, Markelle Fultz. Anyway, Zaire Smith too. Damn, we really missed on that one. Today's the anniversary when we took him. Sweet. Anyway, thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I'll see you guys next time. I don't know.